Hello, we're live and we're back for the Gamecast. Joining me today, two of my friends I worked with from years ago on TFMX. I'd like to introduce you to Turbo XOR and SYKE 360.
Hello.
And like it says, we want to be doing a bit of a casual talk on the gaming industry and news. Oh, I just see it's live on the old YouTube. I see it coming up. Welcome, YouTube. What we should be doing now, when we're talking about individual news people, we'll have games running at the side as well to see if we're talking about the Xbox or the PlayStation or a PC and Nintendo. We can't miss them out. So I'd like to have a talk to the guest today, my new co-host, Turbo XR. How you doing, and what have you been up to for the last 10 years?
Oh, well, it's been a while since I've been talking to you guys. No, I've been doing fine. It's like outside of been ending my kind of like podcast scene for the longest time and whatnot. I did what everyone does nowadays, just stream on Twitch. And although granted, I was doing that, while still kind of like doing the podcast scene and whatnot. But no, that's taken all my attention nowadays. So yeah, I've been there on Twitch, twitch.tv/TurboDrive Live. Been doing that for so much for a long time. Became an affiliate not too long ago, so I'm giving out the sweet emote, hilarity. That's all that. That's just been mostly my thing. I've been also associated with another website, lastminutecontinue.com. I've been kind of like a color analyst or color commentator during the stream sometimes for that website, as well as being part of a wrestling video podcast, being of Last Minute Kickout that I've been doing with the guys at the Last Minute Continue website. So yeah, I've been doing quite a bit in the interim, as well as changing my overall life.
Well, so, yeah. That's good, mate. It's good. But like it says, I mean, it's nice to have you both back on the podcast. And SYKE, what have you been up to, my friend?
Do you know what? Nothing much. I've been just living life, playing video games, and just working my normal day job. But I was happy enough after my TFMX days, just spent time doing voiceovers for gaming news and such, which is fantastic. But in the meantime, I create a family. I have young people now.
Nice.
So that's all funky. But getting back in the swing of things, being affiliated with yourself there, and also that logo there, that's my new venture. Someone else.
Oh yeah,
doing well, making more gaming news for the masses.
But like I says, people, we was brought together years ago on the TFMX website. Sadly, that's no longer around. But we hope to be bringing in some content each week, and we're going to try in a casual way of talking about different things in the gaming industry, like the Xbox, the next gen on the PlayStation, etc., etc. Now, the big question, the number one question, boys, is this: have you pre-ordered a next gen console?
Yes, I did. I pre-ordered a PlayStation 5 digital edition. I've gone for the
non-digital.
Oh, yeah, indeed. I figured, hey, why not? I'd rather spend £90 less getting next gen stuff and just have to be ass spanked on the store prices instead. I'm sure they'll come down.
Right. Well, like it says, the NVMe non-volatile memory express storage is expensive, but it will come down. It's like anything. It's like brand new TVs. They start expensive and then they come down after more and more people invest in it. So, Turbo, have you invested, or are you still on the latest gen as we speak?
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with the current gen for the while longer because for you guys, things like there's probably something on the console from day one that you guys will be able to jump on board, no problem. Me, on the other hand, there's nothing on launch that is making me jump onto the chance of getting into the next generation in terms of consoles. It's just a case of I do have games that have been talked about like Resident Evil 8, and on the PlayStation you got a game called Stray. That's really impressive to me. But there's no confirmed dates. There's nothing that kind of like, defines a date. I've done this in the past with previous game consoles where I've pre-ordered a console, but I've not gone. But there wasn't anything there for me straight out of the bat. It happened with the Wii U when I pre-ordered that, and because I was so hyped for Bayonetta 2, and that wasn't out for a while longer. You could almost technically say that with the PS4 as well, where I pre-ordered that, but I didn't have. There wasn't anything on there that wasn't like the big thing coming out for it. It's just there's nothing on there for launch for that first 6 months. That is enticing me to pick it up right now at there. And I feel as though for myself, it'll save me money in the long run, because that way I can, look forward to what will be out for the system when it's like 6 months down the line, and then I'll be able to pick up what I want then and there. Yeah.
So I'm assuming you'd buy the Series X Xbox. Is that what it is, or would you buy a PlayStation?
I don't know, actually.
No.
I mean, at the moment it's PlayStation.
Yeah, because I know you was the big Xbox 360 fan in the day.
Oh yeah, I was always into the 360, but then when it came to the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, I went with PS4. Yeah, and stuck with that through that generation. I did get myself an Xbox One eventually, which was the purple limited edition one. Simply because I like the color of it. That's one thing I can give Xbox sometimes credit for, is their design for their consoles at times, and that's the same case for this generation as well. Is that their design for the systems are different, but the Xbox design is much more sleek than the PlayStation design, because the PlayStation looks, even though it's supposed to be, it's like, even though it's supposed to look like a work of art, essentially, I'm not seeing a work of art. I am not seeing artwork in console form right there, then and there.
And the thing is, with the new PS5, I didn't know this till a few days ago, that even, when you have to put it on the stand when it's vertical, but you even have to put it on the stand when it's horizontal. So
you got to move it.
Yeah, because I see it underneath, the little black stand underneath. I think, well, that looks a bit weird, but but there you go. But anyway, I'm glad you're here, and we're going to be going on to one of the big topics. We're going to have to discuss this. I know we don't want to, but we're going to have to. And what studios should Sony buy to counter Microsoft's deal with Bethesda?
Ooh, that's a tough one, definitely. I mentioned before in the green room that there's a few people they could go for, and two names that sprung to mind was probably Kojima Productions. That'd be a nice one to acquisize, is that a word? Or something like Remedy or something weird. Some of the Control Alan Wake people. That would make a small dent. More so Kojima Productions, I reckon. That would solidify the market, definitely.
I'd just like to welcome Sam Clay into the room, our old host from TFMX. Welcome, Sam.
Hope you're doing all right, Sam. Well, with yourself, SYKE, talking about, those are actual studios, like gaming studios, not what Bethesda was, which was a publisher. And of course, it wasn't just Bethesda that Microsoft bought. They bought ZeniMax, like the entire company of that held together the whole thing. And where we're looking at now is I don't think Sony can buy any other kind of massive conglomerate to counteract that purchase, because you've got everyone who's online was saying, maybe Sony should buy Sega or Capcom or Konami and whatnot. And it's guys, they're co-owned by these other bigger companies. Like Sega is owned by Sammy. That's why they're called Sega Sammy in Japan, in the stock market and whatnot. Same with Namco Bandai. Namco Bandai are two separate entities that have merged together, and it's like a toy company and a gaming division. It's all kind of like one thing. Konami is another thing. They've got their I don't know the actual studio or the actual kind of like main company that owns Konami, but they are obviously like Sammy they have like a pachinko division, and that's something that would have to be a part of the deal for purchasing a gaming publisher. Not because it's not just like, oh, we'll just take this from you and we're all good in there. No, it's like everything or nothing, and that's what many people lack. The kind of like idea on it is, you have to take it into consideration every factor in it. And I don't think Sony can buy as many game studios as they like. That's what Microsoft did before they got Bethesda. They were buying up all these kind of like studios. They bought what was it? They bought Double Fine, Tim Schafer's studio. They took Ninja Theory, who did Heavenly Sword and all that previously beforehand, and now do the Hell. Sugar. What's the name again?
Hang on.
They got a sequel coming out soon as well. I've forgotten it.
Hellblade.
Hellblade. Yes, that's it. So
Sam's just put in Activision was once for sale, but probably not anymore.
No one likes them.
Nobody likes Activision.
They've got too many dead franchises. I'll tell you that much. It's they. I mean, we always joke that Bethesda likes to milk like Skyrim to high heaven. With not that, but Activision is just as bad. I mean, you saw the kind of like the franchises that they milked dry and like completely killed off after amount of time, and both scales of like adult and child entertainment. Child being the Skylander series, and then adults being the what's the other franchise that the party games like Guitar Hero and stuff like that. It's like I can't really see a good a big purchase from Sony at all.
It's unlikely, definitely. Like someone like Ubisoft, it's just unlikely that they're going to buy anybody that big like Bethesda.
Well, what it says in the recent news that Michael Pachter, my friend, who always predicts all the things and rarely gets them right, has said this week that Sony's best option could be to try and purchase Warner Brothers Interactive. Because the way I look at it is this, right? If they did that, they'll have the Harry Potter online game sewn up. They'll have the Batman Arkham series sewn up. They'll have Mortal Kombat sewn up as well. And like I said in the green room, that because Warner Brothers is a movie studio, Sony is a movie studio. We had the thing with the HD, DVD and Blu-ray wars a long time ago. That could actually throw it towards Sony more than it would do to Microsoft. Because remember, when they had that war with Blu-ray and HD DVD, Microsoft was at war with Sony because of the media format. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, Michael Pachter is actually correct this time, and Sony purchased Warner Brothers Interactive. We'll see.
I think there's an old phrase there. You could say that a spade's a spade 100 times, but eventually that one time it'll be a spoon.
Yeah, probably like that. Probably will be. Right then, we're going to go to talking about next gen, and we're talking about the PlayStation and Xbox. We're going to go to the one thing that's really concerning me at the moment, and that is: do you think the console generation is going to get ripped off by non-volatile memory express SSDs in the Xbox Series X, S, and PlayStation 5? Because we've already seen how much the external memory cards for the new Xboxes are. $219 or £219. That's a lot of money for a 1 terabyte external drive. I know it's new tech, and if you have to buy into new tech, you have to pay the money. But what do you think about this, boys?
It's definitely something which I think they are going to inflate pricing. It's this new tech or this new custom tech they're trying to fiddle with. It is the dog's danglies. So yeah, they're gonna try and pile up those poundage or even any sort of currency on top of that to make it as expensive as possible. I think it'll stay that way for about 2 or 3 years. Maybe as that happens, there'll be a trend that goes down again. So initially, like you said, it's the brand new thing. It will cost money, and I think gamers will suffer. Early adopters will suffer.
Yeah, it's an early case of what happened in the previous generation when external hard drives of that kind of like capacity for the regular kind of like hard drives back then were very expensive, like well over the £100 mark to start off with, and this is them just like getting off the ground at a high price point, closer to 200 now. So it only makes sense that it's a very tough sell to get that extra memory to extend on that. It just depends. It just depends on what the players want to do. Do they want to, especially for users of the S model for the Xbox Series consoles? Will they just buy one game at a time? And just
the problem is because the Xbox Series S has only got 512 gigabytes of RAM on the SSD,
and then you got about 20% of that is being used by the thing.
They said it could be about 200 gig for the OS. So if that's the case, they're going to need one after about 2 games because if the game's over 100 gig a piece or whatever, they ain't going to fit that many on them. Now, this is why I always say the people say, is the Xbox Series S a dead donkey? Because to me it is. Because the simple reason, if you're going to have to pay another $200 on top of your $299, you might as well bought a Series X in the first place, because it's going to work out the same price. So
I wouldn't say it's a dead donkey. It's an entry level console. It's fairly blatant by that and whatnot, by its price point and its features.
But the way I would have put it, if they're going to bring it as an entry level console, fair enough, right? But what I think they should have done. They should have done something for the Series S, which is different to the Series X, i.e. be able to attach external hard drives that you can load off. Even though it's slower, you should be able to load off them drives because you haven't got the memory. That way, people on the Series S will have benefited by using their old external hard drives. So that's the way I look at it.
No, I can understand. It is a classic fare of companies getting greedy to bank on people to buy these SSDs straight out of the bat, so that way they have what they need to do more with what they got already at that cheap entry point. So
and definitely, and you're also constrained to the ones that Microsoft and Sony deem compatible with their systems. You can buy any SSD you like, but if they're not compatible, they're not going to take advantage of the new architecture and the new way it runs games. So you're kind of stuck with that Sony or a Microsoft badge of honor on each bit of kit.
And also, we've heard about the new tech at Sony's brought. Is it Oodle something?
Is that the compression thing?
Yeah, well, it says if they make games with that tech, the SSD can output over 17.5 gig a second, which will completely destroy the Xbox Series X and the Xbox S if they implement it into their own games. And Sony's bought this new tech. That's why they said about how fast the SSD is going to be. But if they grab that technology and actually implement it into their games, as far as loading up a game, I mean, you're talking not even a second if you're using Oodle to do it. I mean, a lot of people are speculating on it, but it is a licensed software and Sony have implemented it. So if they've bought software to do it, they're going to use it.
Oh,
but the thing is, what we need to do now, what Sony has to do within the next couple of weeks, is they have to show us something. I mean, with the Series X and the Series S, we've seen everything. We've seen this. We've seen the inside and out of the Series S and X. We've seen the games, albeit they haven't got any exclusive on day one, which the PlayStation 5 has got Godfall. So I'm still going to say that. But the thing is, I mean, that's the reason why I have not buying a Series X or Series S at launch, because at the present time, my Xbox One X is good enough. Because the simple reason, there's no reason for me to buy it, because I always buy for exclusives. And when Fable 4 comes out, Don't worry, I should be having an Xbox by then. No problem.
I mean, I had that conversation with someone in my, my generic game store.
Yeah.
They bringing it back, old school. Where I was talking to people, it's like they were giving me the conversation of like, oh, what do you think will win, PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X? And it's like, well, it boils down to the games essentially. What's exclusively available for the games, and then they go, it's like, why do you think it's only that? It's like, it's not like you're not gonna buy a console that has the console that has the best graphics and the best kind of like schematics to its infrastructure and not play anything on it. I mean, come on.
No. You're gonna go where the games are.
Yeah, and if the game is not there to entice you to play it and whatnot, that the exclusives to play it, because you can get the multi-format games on wherever you like. So fair enough. And in this day and age, if it's a multi-format game, many people buy it on PC. So
yeah, you're right there, mate. But like I says, it's as we always said. I mean, at the time, Sony had the games and Microsoft didn't. But now with this Bethesda deal, Microsoft has got things, albeit not their own games. I mean, they're different to Sony because Sony do actually build companies up from the ground up with and employ all their employees themselves and build up the developers themselves. Anybody can chuck money out. Anybody can say, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy that. But the problem is, to me, that's not doing hard work. That's actually just showing how much money you got. And I know Microsoft has got a lot of money, more than Sony have. But the way I've been hearing over the last few weeks is, oh, the generation's over. So Xbox is won it, it's over. It isn't. It's not even started yet. And I will do what I used to do on the TFMX website. I'm going to do a Warwick's prediction. So I remember these.
I have the audio sting still to the day.
Yeah, he remembers me saying, now, I'm not going to say, I'm going to say this. Sony will win this generation. It might take 5 years, like they did with the PS3, because remember, the PS3 did defeat the 360. It took them all the generation until EA come along and actually said, right, we're going to make the PlayStation 3 the master console to develop on and then slave to the Xbox. And that's how they won. But I shall say this is a Warwick's prediction, people. You got it on YouTube, you got it on a video. So I'd say 5 years, Sony will still regain its tradition of being number one, even though of all these deals. And we do not know what Sony's going to do. They have to do something very soon. But I think the thing is, Sony doesn't have to buy studios. All they have to do is partner with studios.
Oh, yeah.
If they partnered with Google, if they partnered with Amazon, they've got the money. Then they can buy what they like. They could buy Take-Two Interactive. They could buy Grand Theft Auto franchise. They could buy Ubisoft if they wanted to. If they got them behind them, they can do it. But all I'll say is this: let's wait until we see what cards Sony's going to produce. Because I think when you become number one and you've been number one for years or decades, you're not just going to say, right, that's it. Microsoft's bought all the games up. We quit. No, Sony's not going to give it up. So, and the people say, why hasn't Sony said anything or shown anything? I mean, they've shown the games. It's just we haven't seen the console. No. And because of this thing with Bethesda Studios, we need them to show us something. They need to reel us back in. Definitely, they've got to change the way they think. I mean, fair enough, they may be sitting back on their laurels. They may be saying, oh, we've got 100-odd million consoles. We can do what we like. But them days are over. They have to try and think, well, Microsoft is grabbing all these customers. Well, allegedly grabbing these customers. And it's like I've always said, that you're always going to get Xbox fanboys and you're always going to get PlayStation fanboys. It doesn't matter if Xbox bought a toilet with an Xbox logo on it. They would buy it. Same with a PlayStation fanboy. You're never going to get rid of the elite. So they're always going to buy their products. The same in Japan. And people are saying that Microsoft is trying to move into Japan, which they always have been for the last 10 years. But like I've always said, Japanese companies stick together. they will always support Nintendo, and they will also support Sony. Microsoft, it's not their products I don't like, it's the way of life. The Americans support the Americans, the Japanese support the Japanese. Anyway, I'm routing on a bit now. Let's get on to the next subject there. Anybody got any questions in the chat? Please let us know, and we'll try and get them to talk about. Right, now we're going to move on to a bit of PC news now. Now, we know about the RTX 3080, and of all the scalpers that are charging probably £2,000 for, or even more than that, for a graphics card. Now, and we've heard the problems with the RTX 3080 being crashing to desktop, and because remember, if you clock it over 2 gigahertz, it will crash. That's because of the third-party companies are putting, how can I put it, substandard components compared to the Founders Edition, and that's the reason why it crashes over 2 gigahertz. But they've said they're going to release a firmware patch which will lower the clock speed, so your graphics cards will not crash no more. It won't drop performance, so don't worry about that. But that's a bit of PC news this week. About the RTX 30. If you can actually get one.
Yeah,
gold dust. Right, now we're going to talk about this. I've heard about this. Now, we've had this on the PlayStation 4 Pro, but the PlayStation 5 will have a boost mode in it. So you can have unlocked frame rates on the PlayStation 5. So what do you think about this, boys? I mean, have you implemented boost mode on your Pro in the settings?
I did when I bought a 4K TV, and I just knocked all the settings up I could to think, I got a new TV, new frame rates that works, let's get up there. So yeah, it did see some differences, especially things like Horizon Zero Dawn. That was nice to see.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it's a feature I've never actually had the opportunity to utilize it fully. I mean, the TV setup is still regular 1080p kind of like HD affair. It's like I've not invested enough money to get myself a 4K TV, but I do have a PlayStation 4 Pro, which is the 100 million limited edition consoles.
Yeah.
So it's like it's great for running games faster. I'll definitely say that much, but I've not utilized its true potential, sadly.
I mean, I use it mainly for frame rate, because it does improve frame rate on a lot of games, especially if you go down to the 30 or 40 frames. It does boost it up that way. But like it says, the PlayStation 5, I think a lot of this boost mode is going to be on, like, you see on Xbox has actually done the things like the backward compatibility games running at 60 frames. I think this is Sony's answer to that kind of thing, where if you're playing PS4 games on your PlayStation 5, you implement the boost mode on PS5. That's going to bump them up to a higher clock speed and make them run it up at a higher frame rate, i.e. 60 frames or above. I mean, we know both consoles, like the Xbox and the PlayStation 5, can go up to 120 hertz or frames per second. But what a lot of people don't understand is you have to have a monitor that can run at that refresh rate. Otherwise, you will never get to that. Oh, Mike, I can play at 120 frames per second on my 42-inch standard telly. I said, no, you can't.
No.
You need to have the monitor to, and of course, you have to have, is it HDMI 3.1 or something like that?
I forget the exact number, but yeah, you need the latest HDMI.
Yes, so then you get zero latency on the screen. So anyway, the consoles can do that, but I think most people will normally have a 4K HD 60. I mean, that's quite sufficient. I mean, I won't be doing that just to get 120. If you want to plug it into a monitor, it can do that refresh rate, fair enough. But 120 hertz is still, to me, that's PC technology. I'm afraid that's for PC fanboys.
Yeah, I can't see anything in the first year or so even reaching that 120 immediately. So,
hello, Sam's got a question. He's going to put in the chat in a minute. Let's have a look. Takes a second or two to come onto the Gamecast.
Damn it, Sam.
It puts it in the YouTube thing, and it takes. Oh, yeah, here we go. It takes a while to call. Here we go. Game Pass earns 1.4 billion a month. They've kicked it up a gear. Yes, you're right there, Sam. But it's like, well, I don't know if you heard what I said when we first come in. We're talking about this monopolising the market. Now, if Xbox was to like defeat Sony and put Sony down, I mean, we all know Game Pass is a good deal, and I love Game Pass. I'm not slating Game Pass, but what I'm saying is this: if they monopolise the market, they can put from $15, they can put up to $50. They can charge $1,000 for your Xbox, because if they control the market, they control how much you've got to pay them. You know, so we need Sony to thrive. And Nintendo. We need them companies to go against each other, because competition always makes it cheaper for consumers. If you've got somebody that monopolises the complete market, they can say, right, you're going to pay $100 for that game. Oh, no, I ain't. Yes, you are, because we're the only ones that's going to sell it. So,
see, the good thing about the Game Pass itself, the value of it also almost makes the Xbox Series X and the Series S redundant if you're inclined to stay on PC, because you can get all the things they have, but on PC for very little a month.
I mean, like it says, I mean, I've got Game Pass Ultimate. I mean, when I get my new rig in a couple of months, I'll be playing most of my Xbox games on PC, because the Series X and the PlayStation 5. I mean, if you get a decent PC, a normal PC will destroy both of them. I mean, one of the top-end graphics cards, it's got more teraflops than both the Series X's graphics card and PlayStation combined. So a good PC will look at them. That's the reason why I've been seeing videos as well about there's a video going around how they play Godfall on PC. They're saying, oh, it should have been on the PS5, not the PC. But this goes for Xbox as well. A company will always show their games on the best platform they have, and PC is the best platform, so it's going to look the best. All they need is a representation of that game on the PS5 or the Series X. Xbox did it with Halo Infinite. When we seen videos of Halo Infinite, it was running on PC. So it wasn't running on the Series X. So it's just a way to market a game. But of course, when the fanboys get hold of it, they say, oh no, it's crap. It's running on PC. You know, it's crap. That's it. But no, every company does it. And I would say Nintendo would do it as well. If they got all their Switch games are probably they're screened on a PC, you know, because a lot of people think, there's actually a lot of people out there, console boys, who think they make the games on the consoles, you know, but they don't. They make them on a PC. Well, let's have a look at the chat here. Stubbs Gaming is trying to get in a chat here. Remember, Stubbs Gaming has a podcast each week. Go and check him out. Give him a sub on YouTube. He would much appreciated. Let's have a look now. Let's get one of his in. I think Game Pass is at 20 million plus. They're holding back real stats, it seems. They are.
And by that, what do you think those kind of like figures are talking about? Like actual users who are retention kind of like users of like recurring players of like monthly subscription or something else or whatever. What
the thing is,
current Game Pass holders, perhaps.
Yeah, it's not people who own consoles. It's not 20 million. I mean, they've got that more consoles than that, but that subscription's held by people who sometimes won't play, who won't even have an Xbox. They're on the PC, or even eventually in the cloud, they'll have it on tablet, won't they?
Well, it's also a factor. Many people keep forgetting that not everywhere has like the fast enough bandwidth to kind of like support something like Game Pass. Game Pass is great for having over 100 titles to choose from to stream or like stream or download.
Cloud,
to kind of like be able to do that. But there's always that thing. It's like, yeah, it's great, but it might not have the title that you'll have that a person wants to play, or they don't have the right environment to kind of like take advantage of it. It's always going to be a difficult thing to kind of like get into and whatnot.
Quick tea.
Well, video up, play on the side.
That number will rise. Game Pass also, the Xbox owners will get Game Pass as a part of their Xbox Live subscription as well. So that number will go up at some point, even higher.
Right, here's another question, and I'm gonna hit Turbo with this question because Turbo used to be the Nintendo expert. Do you think, Turbo, what we're going to see a Nintendo Switch 2 to compete against the PlayStation 5 and Xbox consoles in the future?
I was going to say if there's going to be a follow up from the Switch, it's not going to be called the Switch 2. I'll definitely tell you that much because we know with Nintendo's kind of like naming kind of like factors with their kind of like their consoles, they try to innovate. Now, if they call it like now they have like last year introduced the Mini as a cheaper option for players to come in for the Switch and whatnot. If they want to have a more powerful because Nintendo has never been about power when it comes to their systems. It's about innovation and playability, because it's always been that. And when even though a lot of people who like play their games and they see their games and it's like, oh, it's pretty, it's look brilliant. It's like, no, that's just Nintendo making the use of what they have. They know what they have and they will make the most out of what they have, no matter what. Even if it's like making a bonfire out of just like two sticks. It's like they somehow just have that magic of being able to go, just blows up right there. But with Nintendo having something to come alongside to compete against the next generation consoles, no, they won't have something to compete against the consoles. They'll have something to associate with the consoles. Yeah. To kind of like give people that second option, because that's what's always the thing is as you're blocking SYKE there. Sam getting in the way there with this thing. It's like he just mentioned that there. He jokingly said that. It's like, can it run Crysis? Crysis is on the Switch.
Yeah, it can. It can.
It's play it.
The thing is, at the moment, the Switch can run the Crysis better than a PC can.
At times, I mean, granted, not like full. Like it's obviously optimized. Like, and that's what the case with the Switch is, that and many people who've been porting to the Switch for the last couple of years have been optimizing their works to work with the Switch and see if it can work. And on some occasions, it can work. Like you had probably one of the biggest ones that was up on the Switch. Well, two of the biggest ones was Skyrim and Witcher 3. Both those games being able to be played on the Switch after being such massive kind of like games to be on those platforms. Yeah, it's like, kudos to the teams that were implementing them. But no, I mean, if they were wanting to get something to compete against to help be part of the arms race, essentially, between these two new next generation consoles, they will have something. They probably will have something in the wings. It's just it won't be something that will be competing directly against these two giants. It's basically going to be something that will help alleviate a lot of the kind of like issues that the Switch has already. Because Switch is not a perfect system. It's a great system. It's an innovative system, but it's still flawed. And it's still something that could be improved. And there's many analysts have obviously talked about, if they have a pro version, they can have something that will be able to, sort out all those kind of like problems. And we might see it. Maybe not next year, maybe in 2022, possibly. But it just depends on what Nintendo sees in this in this marketplace now.
Definitely.
New generation.
And with the Switch, they always seem to be the Nintendo, at least, pick up the rest of the demographic. So you got the big gamers want the big beastly consoles. Switch seem to mop up the rest, all the smaller people, and they do a really good job of it. Stubbs, as he says, that Nintendo are in a lane of their own almost. So they are kind of a separate entity, but they do have a good market share of the gaming populace.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like I said, Nintendo do their own thing, and they've always done their own thing. And like it says, to me, Nintendo has got the biggest fan base of all the consoles. They are loyal. They are loyal to their brand, and that doesn't matter if a Nintendo Switch cost £1,000 or $1,000. They would buy it, and the thing is with Nintendo, they're the only company that ever has to take a cut on their hardware. I mean, when Xbox and Sony bring out their machines, they have to subsidize them. They have to put the price down, how much it costs them, and they get it back with games and services. But with Nintendo, we want £300 for a Switch. You pay it, and that's 100%. Well, not 100%, but they get profit on every console they make. So they're never losing any money because they always make sure you buy the price. I mean, if Xbox One X, Series X, and the PlayStation 5 was at the retail price, I bet you consoles would probably cost $600-700 to make, but they're subsidizing them consoles down a price. So remember, you can't have it over $500, can you? The $499 sweet spot is always there. I mean, it doesn't matter if you pay $1,000 for your iPhone. Oh yes, that's worth it. But if you pay anything over $500 for a console, oh no. Can't be doing with that. No. So let's move on then, boys, to a bit more. Remember, if we've got any more questions in the chat, let us know. Subs Gaming, Sam Clay, thanks for dropping them questions in. All right, let's have a look. Now we're going to move on to something which I think would be in the future, but we're going to discuss about it now, and that is cloud gaming. The thing that Microsoft says they've got the angle on. Now, we've got xCloud for Microsoft. We've got Google Stadia, and the new service from Amazon called Luna, which is only available in the US at the moment. But I was looking into the Luna streaming service, and the next month, Ubisoft actually starts on Luna. So could they be going in with a partnership with Ubisoft? So that could be something to look into. So, boys, what do you think of these streaming cloud services coming, or now and in the future?
I think they're nice. They're great. They're a convenience. But I don't think they will do any sort of dent on the physical proper market in games. I think digital's taken a while to do that. They're still buying disc stuff. So in a tier thing, discs will reign supreme, digital, then we got cloud. I think they're just testing the waters. All these companies want to get in on this slice of pie, and they want to get in fast. It'll take a while, I think.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to at the moment, and I know we've got fast internet, but to me, it's just not fast enough for this kind of stuff yet. So what do you think, Turbo?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I was talking about it earlier with Game Pass and whatnot. Great. Game Pass is a great service and whatnot. But stuff like, Stadia and Luna and whatnot, where you have to have a very strong internet connection in order to utilize it properly. It's just like up here, especially for like a market like, say, Scotland. Scotland as a whole does not have that great of a net base when it comes to an internet structure as such, where you got broadband in certain areas, but it's not everywhere. It's like it'll cover the major cities, but when you're going into like more rural towns and villages and stuff like that, people are not going to be able to have those kind of like speeds that these companies are expecting you to have. I mean, some of the speeds that they say that you need to, the recommended speeds that you have to have while using these services are ridiculous. And it's like nobody's being able to kind of like get those speeds at any point. No. And especially when most people who would be wanting to use these services are wanting to do them on peak times. Yeah, it's like you're pretty much killing yourself to try to play one of those games during those times. If you want to, like, say, come back from work and you're wanting to do some gaming at 7 p.m. But that's during a peak time period where the net traffic is just so heavy that you're probably not gonna be able to stream 30 minutes of a game, at a optimal rate, and whatever. So
yeah, it does feel like cloud gaming is a secondary. If you can download it and install it, like Game Pass, that's your primary. If you're really, really desperate to play it, then stream it. But
I mean, we've seen Stadia being so desperate to get users to keep on with the program. With I've been seeing some deals and stuff like that they've tried to entice people with, but they're not biting. It's just not there. It's like people are still wanting to, and it's the same with in digital in general. It's like there are still people who want to have a disc-based platform to still play their games because they are just not confident enough to have that kind of all digital kind of platform. The current situation that we're currently in on just now, that's a factor where a lot of people, because they can't go out to get their stuff and whatnot, they're just using their credit cards to buy the digital stuff right then and there. But that can only last for so long. And there's some people who have obviously been deprived of their media for months, and where the first thing that they did when they were able to go outside again and get their stuff again was go to the local entertainment center and pick up a few titles that they missed out, on disc, and by then they'd probably be cheaper. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Like I said, boys, I'm going to go on to the last subject of the stream. What games are you looking forward to next gen, consoles or PC in the future?
It's a toughie. It is really a toughie because I'm keen on the PlayStation 5. I'm keen on getting into that ecosystem. Like right now, there's not much really out. I might play Godfall. I'm looking forward to Gran Turismo 7. I think it's my racing game I'm looking forward to. Bring back the roots to try to kind of redeem itself from that GT Sport fiasco. That's what I'm after.
Yeah. I mean, like I says, I'm looking forward to Godfall, of course, because it's an exclusive and I will be streaming that live when I do get it. But there is games, and I think a lot of it depends on what Sony's going to do with this deal. I mean, are they going to buy new studios? I mean, as we talked, I mean, I know what I would like. I would personally like Sony to buy the likes of Konami. I'd like them to buy Konami, Hideo Kojima Productions, get Silent Hills up and running. There was on about doing a remake of Silent Hill, which is actually meant to be in the works, but it's still hush hush. Now, if they'd done that, I'd be a very happy man, But games, I mean, as Mr. Clay said in the chat, Crysis, the new and remastered. Now, I've actually played that on the Xbox One X. I've done it with the ray tracing, etc., etc. Now, to me, ray tracing to me is a gimmick because the simple reason, if you see the Spider-Man game Miles Morales on PS5, if you look on the road, the cars have disappeared when they've got ray tracing done on because they have to take out the assets so they can put ray tracing reflections on it instead. Because if you have a screen where it's got full graphics, 4K assets and ray tracing as well, you watch your frame rate drop. I mean, even some of the best computers in the world can't run it. So they keep saying, oh yes, it's all the fanboys on the console. Oh yes, it's full ray tracing, full 4K. No, it's not. I would rather have just 4K assets on the game and that's it. Ray tracing is good, but I think it's a few years down the line with technology to get it implemented properly. A lot more powerful. You're talking PlayStation 6, 7 probably, series, I don't know what they're called, the next one, Series X, Y, Z, I don't know. But that's the kind of consoles that's going to implement ray tracing, not this gen. I mean, I've seen it, but I'd rather have just 4K assets, not ray tracing.
Yeah, I did read some of that. Ray tracing is like 4 or 5 different elements, and you have all 5 to have full ray tracing. So a lot of these games will have partial ray tracing reflections, but again, only partial reflections. Only 50% perhaps of the assets on the screen could be reflected properly. The rest are just forgotten about.
And it's so expensive to put ray tracing in a game. So a lot of these developers, especially the little ones, won't even bother it. You're only going to get companies like EA and all that who've got all the money to do it. But it takes a lot of, most people, I know people that don't even game on 4K screens yet. So, they're not bothered about ray tracing. To me, it's just a thing for companies like Microsoft and Sony to say, oh, yes, got ray tracing. Oh, sign me up. I'll have some of that, even though you don't even know what it is, But to me, ray tracing is still a PC tech at the moment. It will become more as the standard goes later on, but I think it's going to be PC architecture at the moment. You will see some in Series X and PlayStation, but unless you've got a decent TV, you're not going to. It's like I said earlier with the 120 hertz thing. Unless you've got a decent TV, you're not going to see it anyway. But anyway, moving on to Turbo. I know you said you ain't getting the next gen yet, but what games are you looking forward to?
Granted, like I said at the top of this podcast and whatnot, some of the games that I'm looking forward to, probably the most noble franchise that I'll obviously talk about is Resident Evil 8, or Resident Evil Village, as it's wanting to call itself.
Yeah.
Obviously continuing on from what they kind of built on with 7, and I just hope that this next generation can actually look all right, because at the moment with the trailers that's been showcased for the thing, it's not utilizing a great amount of power, because obviously you can't see the power of next generation in card trailers if you don't have the a 4K resolution
screen to watch it on.
I had to watch those trailers on, and I don't even know if any of those trailers do have 4K trailers to them. But other than that, it's I want to see people I want to see publishers publishers and developers try to not only work on their existing franchises, but also work on new IPs that can entice people to play them. Yeah. That's why I like Stray, because it's got that power. It has this world of robots and kind of desolation with its environments and whatnot. But you're playing as a cat. It's dude, that's amazing. It's we've had games like that before, where it's we've had A Dog's Life on PlayStation 2. It's which is an absolute terrible game, but and you've had moments where you've got animals as kind of a factor in its gameplay and whatnot. But that's the first time where there's been a game that has an interesting setup, an interesting world, and an interesting playable character that I want to play as. Yeah,
I'll see that trailer. Yeah, the cat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you need to, that's what I want to see coming from these studios and whatnot, is to try to be, eye-catching in a different way, instead of having a bombastic, typical action affair, first-person shooters, action adventures, and stuff like that, where it's always bang, 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 everything explodes and whatnot. Which we've seen with Call of Duty so many goddamn years. I feel like I've gone numb to the factor.
Oh no, that's the problem with Call of Duty. They bring it out every year. It's like the FIFA of first-person shooters. Every year, you've got to be a COD, and the people say, "Oh, I've got to buy the new COD." I said, "Why? It's the same thing every year." Once you play one, you play them all.
Yeah, so. It's just a bunch of set pieces with flash explodings and a bare minimal plot, and then the multiplayer sucks. Hot take. But it's that's why I want to see from this thing. Granted, I want to see my regular franchise. Obviously, Resident Evil is a regular franchise that I want to see. Other franchises that I want to see. I've totally loved Doom this previous generation. Doom and Doom Eternal have been really good games. I mean, granted, I have more higher regard for Doom 2016 than I do with Eternal, but there's still 2 really good games from this generation, and I want to see how can they improve upon it in the next generation. How can they give us another kind of like Doom game that will utilize this next generation hardware with even faster gameplay? So, I mean, granted, I mean, it might be my old age, and it's like, say old age, and it's like, and I'm pretty much the youngest person here. It's like myself, it's like I'm, like I don't have those reflexes anymore that where I couldn't be up to the same caliber as some of those other players who've been mastering Eternal and whatnot.
Oh,
but
I've played it. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's like, I mean, so I fear that if they do make another Doom game going forward, it's like that would be very difficult to try to keep up with if they want to utilize the speed factor in consoles and in the new consoles where they're just racking it up and using those frame rates to its highest abilities and try to make something impressive. But it's not always just about the speed for that. It's you need to have moments where it's like a little bit of downtime and whatnot, and hopefully it will work out. But other than that, I mean, all the franchises that I'm always interested in. Obviously, you guys know, I wear it on my in my clothing all the time.
Yeah.
It's like I just hope that all I hope for is that Sonic survives another year. That's all I care. I mean, we had Sonic Mania. I was happy with that, and and I was one of the very few people who actually enjoyed Team Sonic Racing because I love Sumo Digital. Sumo Digital is amazing. They're a great bunch of lads.
It was awesome.
Yeah, they're always amazing lads. Those guys. So I expect hopefully to see Sega utilize or take advantage, whether or not they have some partnership with either or partners like publishers like Microsoft or Sony, because they've been doing well ever since they went third party. They've tried to keep themselves afloat with making those kind of like versed kind of like deals with publishers, particularly that with Nintendo. But I think that with their other franchises like Yakuza being on the Sony platform for so long, and that being very lucrative for them, and with them acquisition Atlas with the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona series, again another lucrative deal that was tied to Sony more so than anything else. And now with this new generation and whatnot, they'll probably want to try to go back to Microsoft again, because they did go to Microsoft to start with the Xbox, the original Xbox.
But do you think though, Turbo? Do you think Sega's on the horizon to be bought by Xbox? By Microsoft? You don't think so?
No, is it because I was talking about this in the green room with you guys earlier. It's like the companies like Sega are co-owned by another company. That's why, and with Sega, it's Sega Sammy, or it's Sega Sammy, where if you buy one thing, you have to buy the other, and it's very difficult to kind of like take the gaming part of that company away from the other entertainment sector on it. It's the same with what was the other big acquisition recently? I think it was like Disney with Fox, where not everything that was under the Fox umbrella, I don't think, was like taken in by Disney. It's like you had the movies and stuff like that, but I don't think all of their kind of like television subsidiaries or whatnot was taken into factor. I don't think. I think it was just like 20th Century Fox, not Fox as a media conglomerate or whatever. But I could be wrong on that. But it's like having to buy a studio outright, because that's what, going back to our one of the news points was Bethesda being bought by Microsoft. Microsoft didn't just buy Bethesda; they bought ZeniMax.
Yeah, that's the main one.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
bought
main one.
everything.
Yeah.
So, and what was the money? What was the money of that? It's like
7.5 billion.
It was like, I think it was $1 for every bug in their games.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my week's wage per week.
Oh. Yeah, and I've got that on an offshore account in Switzerland. No, it's like having that, and that was all like full on cash for that. That wasn't in like buying like shareholds out of for a company and stuff like that. No, that was like full on cash in hand purchase. It's like it's crazy how they were able to kind of like put that on the table quite easily, just like be able to just go and it's like,
yeah, but then again, it's
give me your company, please.
It's Microsoft, isn't it? But as I was said in the green room, or I don't know if I mentioned it here, you can buy companies with money, but you're not actually building companies. You're not actually, you'd say, right, do you want a job? Bring all your engineers in, bring all your developers in to make a company. And that's something that Sony does, right? Sony bringing developers. They don't just say, right, I'm buying that company, you work for me. I'm buying that company, you work for me. Yeah, Microsoft have done that, but they didn't build anything. They just showed how much money they can. Well, with Sony, they build companies, they build developers, they build production houses. And the thing is, I always say this, don't write Sony off just yet. We've got to see what they're going to do. They have to actually do something soon. And they have to, I'm not saying they're going to go out and buy a load of companies. Quite frankly, all they have to do is partner with companies. Like I said, to get partnered with, they could even, being Sony, being a Japanese company, they can even do a partnership with Nintendo. They could do a partnership with them, because like I said earlier, Japanese companies all like to stick together. But we will see something. Sony's just not going to lay on their morals and say, all right, we've got 100 million consoles. We don't care what Microsoft does, but they do care. And we have to see what they're going to do. And I reckon there's going to be another showcase within the next week or two. And we're going to have to see a strip down of the PS5. We want to know the ins and outs.
Hell, the UI.
Yeah, the UI, what it looks like, the menu system. We want to see how much these memory cards or whatever it's going to be. Because, the people are saying there's not even a port on the back to plug these cartridges in, because when we see these pictures of this cartridge when it first come out, it's 1 terabyte, the 2 terabyte, and the 3 terabyte. There's still we haven't seen where these plug in. Do we have to take the top off the PlayStation 5 to put the SSD inside it, or what? And they did say it's going to be fully upgradable. So we know on the Xbox where it plugs in the back. So there's a lot of questions has to be answered by Sony. And I'm afraid they're going to have to answer it very soon, because the more rope they give Microsoft, they're going to hang themselves with it. Because they've got to come back, mate. They're the biggest gaming company in the world of today, as of today. And if they don't start showing, even the hardcore fans, if they don't start showing something, they're going to say, well, why are we spending $500? Why are we spending £500? We want something, our money. They've got, and in a sense, what they've got to do. I don't condone fanboyism, but they have to give their loyal fans something to throw back at the Xbox fans. They have to. We've got this, you haven't got that. It's just the way the consoles work. They love it. You think about it, Microsoft and Sony, they feed off fans. They feed off their fan base. That's what they do. They love the fan wars, because when you have fanboy wars, it gives them more publicity to promote their products. So we like SYKE's pre-orders. It is PS5. I've ordered my PS5, but we still want to see something. I love the Xbox deal. I love the Bethesda deal. It's saving me a lot of money, but I still want to see Sony's games as well, because Sony's got some great IPs, got some great exclusive games, which you will never ever see on an Xbox, regardless of how much money they chuck out. So Sony has to grab that ball and pick it up and do something with it. You know, they can't just say, we're Sony, we're the best, we don't care. Because at the moment, that's all they're saying at the moment, you know. So, another little rant there from Warwick. There you go. But, so boys, have you got any more topics you want to talk about? Is anybody in the chat wants any questions for the team, or shall we wrap it up?
I'm fresh out of news, so
It's fresh out of news.
If Turbo's not objective, we can start wrapping this baby up.
No, well, no. I mean, all the kind of like stuff that came into my inbox in terms of news has all been fluff. You know, it's like I think the biggest news that came out of me, out of my circles, was Steve coming to Bloomin' Smash Ultimate. You know, Minecraft Steve.
Oh yeah.
So all that has been the factor of that, and that's getting released next week, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So
and then we had that rapper bloke, didn't we, with the PlayStation controller on his legs? Who was he? Is that Rap Star? Was he? Oh, someone in the chat now. I forgot what his name is. He's a big rap star, and he's been playing the PS5. He said he put it on Twitter, a big picture of it, but because he was like when they had Fortnite, had a big event on. Is it Travis Scott? Travis Scott?
Can't remember, but yes,
yeah, something like that. And he was actually, I remember playing Fortnite once. I don't play it often, but I played it, and also they had a big Travis Scott event on Fortnite, and everybody go, God, it's Travis Scott. I said, who's Travis Scott? You know. But yes, people, I hope you've enjoyed this first Gamecast with Turbo and SYKE. We might be doing some more, boys, if you're interested. And I hope you enjoyed what we had to say. Remember, people, if you want to support us or support Turbo XLR, remember to go on his Twitter page. Hang on, I'll just flash him up on the screen. That sounds disgusting, doesn't it? Right. There, I'll follow Turbo at Turbo XLR. If you please follow him on Twitter, and of course SYKE360 at SYKE360. There it is. He's pointing down at it. And remember, Turbo streams on Twitch most days. He's on Turbo Drive Live. There it is. And of course, SYKE's also on Twitch as well. There he is, SYKE360. You know me, I'm on everything, so I'm not going to put mine on. So, but until the next Gamecast, I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and I hope we see you again on YouTube. Remember, if you like what you see, please drop a sub and a like on the channel, and we'll see you again. So, bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.